Good day. Thank you for tuning into this general election candidate forum for Olympia Mayor. The forum is presented by the League of Women Voters of Thurston County and TCTV. The League is a nonprofit, nonpartisan political organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in their government. The League registers new voters, studies issues, and advocates for its positions with the legislature. Despite its name, the League is open to both men and women of voting age. I'm Allison Brooks from the League, and I'll be moderating this forum. The candidates for Olympia Mayor are Cheryl Selby and Marco Rosaire Rossi. For this forum, the candidates will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then I'll ask them questions in alternating order. The person first asked the question will have 2 minutes to respond, followed by 1 minute from the other candidate. There will be 1 minute for closing statements at the end. We'll begin with opening statements from the candidates, beginning with Cheryl Selby. Cheryl, please start. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Allison. I'm Cheryl Selby, and I'm running to be the next mayor of Olympia. I'd like to share 3 qualities that I'll bring to that role. First of all, I have a proven commitment to our community. I was born and raised in the Northwest. I made a conscious choice to move my young family down here in 1994. Since that time, I've raised my 2 daughters, K through 12, in the public schools, worked as a public servant for the city of Olympia, built a thriving retail business downtown, served on numerous nonprofit boards, and now working hard for you on the Olympia City Council as an elected official. I'm not going anywhere, and in fact, I'm working harder for the coming generations so they can raise their families here with the same economic opportunities and quality of life that I've experienced. Secondly, I'll bring a balanced approach to problem solving. As I just spoke to, I've served in about every segment of our community. That has given me a unique perspective on the challenges and opportunities that exist in Olympia. I've also had the opportunity to work with many community leaders and influencers to find creative and positive approaches to our issues that we're facing. We're a smart, compassionate community, and together we can solve our most urgent social, environmental, and economic issues. And lastly, I'll serve with a generous style of leadership. I have a track record of achieving results by working collaboratively as a team. I look at the City Council as just that, another team. The mayor needs to learn what each council member is passionate about or what their wheelhouse is, and then use those individual strengths and interests to create a working body that will be more productive than just a single individual. I look forward to being part of a great team as your mayor in 2016. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Marco, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. It's been said that in life, the only thing that is constant is change. With that being the case, I think the real judge of a person's character is how well they manage change, and the real judge of a city is how well that city is able to manage change. The reason I'm running, I think that we are facing some dramatic changes here in Olympia, and our city council, our leadership, is unprepared to deal with them. In 20 years, our city is expected to grow from our 20,000 people. We have a changing economy. We're seeing a greater portion of our economy take up with retail jobs. And we need to prepare for climate change and changes to our environment. The reason I'm running for Olympia is that I think that I have the skills and the acumen to deal with these changes. I've had years of experience in various social justice causes. I've been on the board of 3 nonprofits. I have an education that provides me with insight and background to address policy issues. I have a master's degree in political science. And I've run a transparent campaign where the issues are primary so that I can mobilize people on the things that I think matter most to Olympia. Those things, as I see them, are ending poverty in the city. I really want to encourage increasing the rights of workers, tenants, and homeless people. A major platform of my campaign has been raising the minimum wage and making sure that workers have all workers in Olympia have guaranteed safe and sick leave. The other part is I think we need to address how we design our city. We need to work to bridge the urban-suburban divide. We need to encourage a city that has urban density, where we retrofit suburbs and have mixed use and mixed income neighborhoods. Finally, we need to have a more democratic city. It's time we move to a city that has districts where we have accountability in both the police and the city manager, and we have greater participation opportunities for the city. I think that when we have a city that works for everyone, we have a city that we can all be lifted up on. And the reason I'm running for mayor is because I want to make sure that city is so we can be a model, not just for Washington, but for the world.
Thank you, Marco. So now we turn to the questions, and the first question will go to Cheryl Selby. And here we go. You have 2 minutes to answer this. The creation of a more sustainable budget is a goal of the City Council. What steps would you take to make this possible?
That's a great question. I serve on the Finance Committee of the Council and have been on that since I was elected in 2014. One of the areas that we addressed this year in particular was creating sustainability within our parks budget. We've looked at, in the past, we've plugged holes with our policing and our building maintenance, but we were definitely needing to dig in on the funding for our parks. And like you said, one of our most urgent council priorities is creating a sustainable budget. And unfunded maintenance and repairs of capital facilities in our parks total $4 million. As well, during the Great Recession, utility taxes were diverted to maintenance and operations to keep our existing parks open and safe. This meant that we fell behind on our acquisition goals. We studied ways on Finance Committee to plug holes through efficiencies, but we kept coming up short. The idea of a Metropolitan Parks District was looked at, and we believe it's the best option to create a dedicated funding stream so we can not only acquire parkland for future generations, but maintain and develop our current inventory. I hope you'll study this ballot measure more and make the same decision I have and support it. You can check out the Metropolitan Parks District issue on yesolympiaparks.org.
Thank you. Marco Rossi, you have 1 minute. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, I would like that.
The creation of a more sustainable budget is a goal of the City Council. What steps would you take to make this possible?
Like any budget, there is two aspects of it. One is the fiscal side, the other one is the revenue side. And making sure that we have a sustainable budget here in the city. For the fiscal side, we have to ensure that we have an efficient city where we examine each branch of government, each aspect the city is involved on, and ensuring that we have best practices and that we're using our resources that we have for the best of our abilities. The other aspect is the revenue side, is we have to ensure that revenue is coming to the city. So I think the city needs to make strategic investments that we know that we can grow our economy and provide a solid tax base so we can fund the programs we know work best for our city. That means we have to look at investments in infrastructure, we have to consider design, and we have to consider what types of taxes that we're going to have to be our base for bringing in that income for the city. So as an office, I would promote sort of a review of the city's process so we can guarantee best practices from all areas of city operations, from waste management to policing, and I'll look at new areas of revenue streams.
Great. Okay, second question. Mr. Rossi, how would you address citizens who believe it is not safe to shop in downtown Olympia? You have 2 minutes.
Well, we know that there are people who have concerns about the downtown. What I've been promoting time and time again is what I would call to as a security and inclusive strategy for the downtown. The security aspect is that we know that we need to address some antisocial behaviors in the downtown. The best way, I think, to address these behaviors is a partnership between social service agencies and encouraging the police in our city to adopt a community policing model where they focus on problem solving rather than just crime prevention. That type of thing, I think, is not only most effective, but it really builds the community relations that we need so that we all feel better about each other here in the city. The other part, the inclusion part, is that we have to guarantee that there are social services provided in the downtown for people who don't have them. A lot of the antisocial behavior happens in the downtown because people are struggling with substance abuse issues, people are struggling with mental health issues, people are struggling with family issues, and people are doing some of the antisocial behavior just out of necessity because they don't have a home and they're trying to get by. We need to concentrate our services downtown, make sure that they are effective so that we don't waste tax money, and that they are used properly to pull people off the street so that we can guarantee that if people come into Olympia, that this is a city that welcomes them and they can get the services they need. So having that balance between security and inclusivity is really the model I think Olympia should move forward with.
Thank you. Ms. Selby, how would you address citizens who believe it is not safe to shop in downtown Olympia? 1 minute.
Well, this is a very real issue for me. I own a business downtown, and it's one of the reasons that I got really involved in my community and decided to run in 2013. So downtown safety is in the forefront for myself, as well as what we're hearing at the doors as we've been doorbelling all summer. People don't feel comfortable coming downtown. We are underutilizing our streets. So one of the top things that we've done is been able to reconstitute the walking patrol. So we do have more of a police presence downtown. And our community policing approach, I believe, is working, as well as partnering with the ambassador program. And a small piece of this that's going to become a bigger piece is we now have an economic development director at the city who's going to help us retain and recruit new businesses to come into our downtown. So I believe that it's not about moving anybody out of Olympia, it's about bringing more people into Olympia that want to be there for pro-social purposes.
Thank you. Cheryl Selby, you have the next question. Do you think that there has been sufficient planning for the effects of seawater rise on Olympia's downtown? And if not, what further steps do you propose?
Well, you can never be too prepared, but I'm really proud of what Olympia has done. We are a leader in the region for addressing this issue. Way back in 1991, we formed a climate action team, and they've put forth a plan. It was the first in the West Coast, and that focused on the mitigation of greenhouse gases and preparing for climate change. Since that time, there have been numerous updates and reports. All of these are available on the city website. You go to the home page, click on utilities, and scroll down, and you'll see all the other initiatives that the city is taking on. We are serious about addressing climate change and sea level rise. As well, we've passed a zero waste resolution in 2006 with the philosophy and design principles that will maximize recycling while minimizing waste. We also have storm and surface water management programs that will help handle this major cause of water pollution. Another small list of things that we're doing in the city of Olympia are in implementing low-impact development to handle stormwater as close as possible to its creation, pet waste disposal, Go Green lawn care, and also we have a very robust stream team program and other educational opportunities for kids coming up as the next generation so they understand as well what part they play in preventing climate change.
Thank you. Marco Rosario Rossi, do you think there's been sufficient planning for the effects of seawater rise on Olympia's downtown?
Well, the city has taken initiative on this, and what they have done, I think, should be acknowledged. The parts of it that are, I think, that are problematic is that the city, as a city, we still really haven't formed a community consensus of how we're going to prepare for climate change, how that's going to affect development in the downtown, and how we're going to prepare for sea level rise. One of the things that I really want to push forward as mayor is doing that work to provide that community consensus on development. Climate change is obviously a major issue, and there's two ways the city needs to address that. One is from an engineering perspective, making sure we have the infrastructure that we build up so that we can deal with any deleterious effects of climate change, but also doing our part to cut emissions, making sure we have a dense city, that we have a strong public transit sector, all these things we can do to mitigate our carbon emissions and our output from the city.
Thank you. Marco Rosario Rossi, there is a movement towards a home rule charter for Thurston County. Would you support home rule? You have 2 minutes.
Yes. Big part of my platform has been encouraging greater democracy here in Olympia. And I think it's a natural extension to show how that we should have that type of model up at the county. I think it's really essential considering the amount of people who are moving to our county, how the demographics are going to change. And I think it's really essential considering the relationships that municipalities have with the county. A lot of the struggles that we have with the county is over priorities in terms of funding and where money is going to go and how the projects that we think that are important to our city. Making sure that we have a more democratic, transparent system, that we have a greater diversity of opinion on the county, making sure that citizens have a more intimate relationship with their elected officials, guarantees that when they elect someone to the county and you bring them to the municipality, they can talk to each other to deal with the issues that affect us here in Olympia. I think that it's critical that we go through this transformation, not just because we're going to see an increase of growth, but because what I believe that more democratic systems of government do to people. It socializes them and processes of cooperation, critical thinking, empathy, and those are the values that we want to have if we're going to create a city that really works for everyone, that's going to be a vibrant and prosperous city for the coming decades.
Thank you. Cheryl Selby, for 1 minute. Would you support home rule?
Yes, and I agree with a lot of what Marco has said regarding this. As we are facing a 40% population increase across the county over the next 20 years, taking a new look at how we govern that population is necessary. I think the Home Rule Charter is one way we can get there. I do support getting it on the ballot because that's where we'll really find where the real support is with the voters. These types of issues are super complex, so it's going to be important that we have very concrete messaging and understanding around what a Home Rule Charter can and can't do. But I am supporting that we get it on the ballot, and I wish there was. Currently, that momentum seems to be lagging, and I hope that we get the momentum back for that.
Thank you. Cheryl Selby, Thurston Regional Planning Council's recent sustainability plan includes targets for reducing our carbon pollution to address climate change. 25% below 1990 levels by 2020 and 80% below by 2050. What specific policies and investments would you propose to help reach those targets?
Well, I think I might have answered some of this with my previous response to sea level rise. As we know, emissions know no borders. So Olympia can do as much as we can to lower our carbon emissions. But if our partners in the region aren't also at the same energy and level for addressing this issue, then all of our work is for naught. So I look forward to working interjurisdictionally with my I look forward to working interjurisdictionally with my friends at Lacey and Lacey and Tumwater and Thurston County to bring this back forward and show some of the policies that Olympia has found successful and share them regionally.
Thank you. Marco Rosero-Rossi, what specific policies and investments would you propose to help meet the sustainability targets? And if you'd like, I can repeat the whole question again.
No, it's okay. I think I got it, yeah. This has been a major platform issue throughout my campaign, is trying to deal with climate change. Looking at a variety of cities throughout the country and throughout the world, there is a lot of good ideas out there. All of them sort of have a general framework that I think we should bring here to Olympia. One, we need to encourage urban density. In general, we need to encourage a greater urbanization of Olympia, have people live closer together so we can become more reliant on public transportation and alternative forms of transportation, less reliant on cars. I think the city should also look at its investments, work to do as best we can to disinvest from fossil fuels. And we need to think about how we design a city and how we have strategic planning in the city so that we can plan for an ecological, sustainable city for the long term, one that utilizes innate efficiencies so that we can do more with less.
Thank you. Marco Rosero-Rossi, next question. You have 2 minutes to answer this. What would you do if elected to enable actions or policies to preserve small urban farms?
Smaller, okay. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, and in some ways, this is a great follow-up to the question that we just had, because encouraging urban density makes it so that we can have a rural agricultural area outside of Olympia. Two aspects that I would do it to encourage farming in Olympia is that if we build in toward the core, encourage people to live closer together, we can allow sort of farmland on the outside to have greater land space and breathing space so that we can get farmers to do the work they do best. The other part is I think the city should do all it can to encourage a market for local producers. Things like the farmers market in the cities that has the support cities given to that has been ideal for nurturing our local economy. The other one, even though in terms of actual production it's pretty minor, I think it has a great cultural benefit, is encouraging urban farming, community gardens, things like that. The reason that I think is important, even though in production, well, it tends to be pretty minimal, is that it creates people's ideas that farming is an occupation that can be valued and that the tools that you have for valuing is something that anybody can do. So I think all these efforts, making sure that we have a strong urban-rural boundary and that we do good to encourage farming on the outskirts, that we have a local market for local producers, and that we encourage sort of a cultural awareness of agriculture here in our city is how best we can serve our farming community.
Thank you. Cheryl Selby, how would you help preserve small urban farms?
Well, I'm really excited because our Land Use Committee has addressed this over the last few years with doing some zoning revisions so that people can use their property as a small urban farm to support their family and possibly more. One of the things that they've done is they've allowed the use of the right-of-way that's in front of your yard or right next to the sidewalk to be used for gardening. As well, we've revised our small livestock policies so people can have chickens and small livestock on site, depending on the size of their lot. So we've had great leadership about local agriculture coming through the city, and I look forward for there to be more opportunities to talk about this with roof gardens and all the other kinds of creative ways we're going to have to look at so that we can provide not only food security, but a lower carbon footprint for the food that we do eat.
Well, thank you both. And now we turn to your closing statements. You will both have 1 minute each. Cheryl Selby, you can start the closing statements with 1 minute.
Just a second. Sorry, I got out of order. All right. I first ran for public office 2 years ago, so I'm still kind of a newcomer to politics. My team in 2013 knocked on thousands of doors. I listened then and I won your vote. This year we've knocked on thousands more, and what we're hearing is that people are tired of this us versus them dynamic. It's not really a dynamic, it's more of a stasis because nothing moves forward. The community is hungry for leadership that can move our town into the next decades with a healthy balance of priorities. For me, that's people, planet, and prosperity. The people piece is the first leg of the stool, and that's where we have to address our most urgent social needs. The second leg is planet, and we need to continue addressing environmental sustainability through innovative programming and education. The third leg is prosperity, and that's economic vitality. And what does that look like, and how do we get there? All these legs have to be in balance to have a healthy foundation for our future. In the last 22 years, I've seen great accomplishments by the city, but I've also seen missed opportunities. I look forward to working with the city and taking it forward to the next generations.
Thank you. Marco Rosero Rossi, you can close out the forum.
Thank you. No person ever elects just one person to office. What they elect is everyone who that person is willing to bring into office with them. I want to become your mayor because I want to bring in voices that I don't think have traditionally heard at the council. I think being a good leader in Olympia means that we form a general agreement that works for the greater good. I think we've had problems in our city because we've had that greater good hasn't been able to achieve because there's so many voices that haven't been part of the discussion. I want to become mayor because I want those voices to be at the table. I want to listen to those voices, and I want to do all I can to make sure that their input is part of the discussion moving forward. We have major challenges, but I think by working together, we can end poverty in the city, we can create a more ecologically sustainable city, and we can have a more democratic and inclusive city. I think that if we really work for an Olympia for all, one that includes everyone, it'll become an Olympia where all of us will feel proud of.
Thank you. Thank you both. And that brings us to the end of this forum. Thank you to the candidates, and a big thank you to TCTV and to all of you for joining the League of Women Voters of Thurston County for making this forum possible. Viewers out there, we hope that when you vote in the November 3rd general election, this information will help you make an informed decision about your candidates. Thank you and goodbye.